There is a peculiar exhaustion that defines modern life, not the exhaustion that comes from physical labor or honest effort, but the exhaustion that comes from caring, from worrying, from allowing your peace to depend on 1,000 things you were never meant to control. You wake each morning and immediately begin the work of managing what others think of you, of trying to control outcomes that are not yours to command, of carrying the weight of past mistakes as if reliving them could somehow change what has already occurred. By evening, you are drained, not because you have worked hard, but because you have spent the day attempting the impossible, trying to control what cannot be controlled, caring about what should never have mattered. The Stoics understood something that most people spend their entire lives failing to learn, that peace does not come from gaining control over external circumstances. It comes from releasing the need to control them. That freedom begins the moment you stop caring about the wrong things. The foundation of Stoic philosophy rests on a single distinction. There are things within your control, and there are things outside your control. Within your control, your thoughts, your actions, your responses, your character, your effort, your intentions. Outside your control, other people's opinions, outcomes, the past, the future, what others say about you, how circumstances unfold. Most suffering comes from a simple error, caring deeply about what is outside your control while neglecting what is within it. Epictetus taught that when you place your happiness, your peace, or your sense of worth in something external, you have made yourself a slave to it. You have handed your internal state to forces beyond your influence, and you will suffer for as long as you maintain this error. The correction is equally simple. Stop caring about what you cannot control. Redirect that energy inward, to the only domain where your power actually exists. What follows are 7 things that consume most people's energy, peace, and attention. 7 things the Stoics would tell you to stop caring about immediately, not because they do not exist, but because caring about them accomplishes nothing except your own suffering. 1. Other people's opinion. The first thing you must stop caring about is what other people think of you. This is perhaps the most difficult and the most liberating of all Stoic teachings. Most people construct their entire identity around external perception. They make decisions based on how they will be perceived. They avoid actions that might invite criticism. They perform a version of themselves designed to win approval. And in doing so, they become prisoners, because other people's opinions are infinite, contradictory, and completely outside your control. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, had access to every form of external validation: power, wealth, status, the approval of millions. And yet, he wrote in his private journal that the opinions of others should not disturb him, that if he was doing what was right, he needed no one's approval, and if he was doing what was wrong, no amount of approval would make it right. He understood that living for the approval of others is living for something that will never satisfy, because approval is unstable. It shifts with people's moods, their interests, their own insecurities. Today they praise you, tomorrow they criticize you, and neither has anything to do with your actual worth. Consider the man who shapes every choice around what his family will think, what his colleagues will say, what strangers on the internet will approve of. He is not living his life. He is performing a life for an audience that does not care as much as he imagines, and whose approval will never fill the void inside him. The Stoic correction is this: decide what is right based on your own principles. Act accordingly. Then release all concern for how others receive it. Their opinion is theirs to form. Your character is yours to build. These are separate domains, and confusing them is the beginning of a wasted life.
You cannot control what others think of you. You can only control whether you allow their thoughts to control you. Stop caring, not because you become arrogant, but because you become free. 2. Controlling everything. The second thing you must stop caring about is the illusion that you can control all outcomes. This is the error of the person who believes that if they just plan carefully enough, work hard enough, anticipate every variable, they can force life to unfold according to their design. But life does not work this way, and the attempt to make it work this way creates only frustration and suffering. Epictetus was explicit about this. He taught that you must distinguish between what is up to you and what is not up to you. And most of what happens in life is not up to you. You can control your effort. You cannot control the outcome of that effort. You can control your preparation. You cannot control whether circumstances cooperate with your preparation. You can control your intentions. You cannot control whether those intentions produce the results you desire. The person who has not learned this distinction spends their life in a state of constant tension, trying to manage what cannot be managed, becoming frustrated when reality does not comply, blaming themselves for outcomes they never controlled. Consider the parent who tries to control every aspect of their child's development, every choice, every influence, every outcome. They exhaust themselves, they damage the relationship, and despite all their effort, the child still makes their own choices, because the child's will was never within the parent's control. The Stoic accepts this truth early. He focuses entirely on what he can control, his own actions, his own responses, his own character. Everything else he releases, not with resignation, not with passivity, but with the understanding that peace comes from aligning yourself with reality, not from demanding that reality align with you. Seneca wrote that we suffer more in imagination than in reality, that we torture ourselves trying to prevent outcomes we cannot prevent, and this torture is entirely optional. Stop trying to control everything. Focus on what is actually yours to control, your effort, your response, your character. Release the rest and discover the peace that has been waiting beneath the need for control all along.
3. Past mistakes. The third thing you must stop caring about is the past. Not because the past does not matter, but because it is finished, unchangeable, beyond the reach of your power. And yet, how much of your energy that you spend reliving it, replaying conversations, regretting choices, wondering what might have been if only you had acted differently? This is not reflection, this is self-punishment, and it accomplishes nothing except keeping you trapped in a moment that no longer exists. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that the past is dead, that he could not change it, that his only power existed in the present moment, and that dwelling on what was already done was a waste of the time he still had. The Stoic practices radical acceptance of the past, not because the past was good, not because mistakes do not have consequences, but because acceptance is the only rational response to something that cannot be changed. You made the choice you made, with the awareness you had at the time, with the information available to you. Perhaps it was the wrong choice, perhaps it caused harm, perhaps you wish, desperately, that you could go back and choose differently. You cannot. The only question that remains is this: what will you do now? Will you carry the past as a weight that prevents forward motion, or will you extract whatever lesson it contains, integrate it into your character, and move forward wiser than you were? Consider the person who destroyed a relationship through their own actions. They can spend years replaying what they should have said, what they should have done, how things might have been different, or they can accept what happened, learn from it, and commit to being better in the relationships that remain. One path leads to growth, the other leads to stagnation disguised as remorse. Seneca wrote that nothing is as certain as that we cannot recall the past, that wishing things were different does not make them so, that the wise person learns from the past without living in it. Stop caring about what you cannot change. The past is not a place you can return to. It is a place you must leave behind. Honor it by becoming better because of it. Then release it and step forward. 4. Being liked by everyone. The fourth thing you must stop caring about is universal approval. The belief that you can be liked by everyone if you just manage yourself correctly, if you just say the right things, if you just avoid offense, if you just make yourself agreeable enough. This is an impossible goal, and pursuing it will cost you everything authentic about yourself. The Stoics understood that living according to your principles will inevitably create opposition, that speaking truth will offend those who prefer comfortable lies, that maintaining boundaries will disappoint those who benefited from your lack of them. If you require everyone's approval, you cannot act with integrity, because integrity requires you to do what is right even when it is unpopular, even when it costs you relationships, even when people misunderstand you. Marcus Aurelius governed an empire. He made decisions that affected millions, and he knew that no matter what he chose, some would approve and others would condemn. He could not satisfy everyone, and attempting to do so would have paralyzed him. Instead, he focused on doing what he believed was right. Then he released all concern for how it was received. Consider the person who shapes every opinion to match whoever they are speaking with, who agrees with everyone to avoid conflict, who never takes a stand because taking a stand might cost them someone's approval. This person is not authentic. They are performing, and the performance is exhausting because it must be maintained constantly, across all contexts, with no rest. The Stoic path is simpler and more difficult. Be who you are. Act according to your principles. Accept that this will not please everyone, and recognize that the people who matter will respect your authenticity far more than your agreeability. Epictetus taught that if you want to improve, you must be willing to be seen as foolish and stupid by some, that the person who tries to please everyone ends up pleasing no one, including themselves. Stop caring whether everyone likes you. Some will not. This is not a reflection of your worth. It is simply the reality of being a distinct individual with your own principles. Be willing to lose approval in service of integrity. This is the only way to keep yourself. 5. External validation. The fifth thing you must stop caring about is external validation, the need for others to confirm your worth, to tell you that you are good enough, smart enough, successful enough, worthy enough. This need places your self-understanding in the hands of others, and no one, no matter how well-intentioned, should have that power over you. The Stoics taught that your worth is inherent, that it does not increase when others praise you, that it does not decrease when others criticize you, that it is stable, unchanging, and entirely independent of external recognition. But most people do not believe this. They measure themselves by external metrics, titles, income, social media engagement, others' reactions, and they are miserable because these metrics are unstable, manipulable, and ultimately meaningless. Seneca wrote that the person who needs external validation is always in danger, because validation can be withheld, it can be given and then taken away, it can be based on false understanding or malicious intent. Building your sense of self on such unstable ground is building on sand. Consider the professional who needs constant recognition from their employer to feel competent. When praise arrives, they feel temporarily good. When it does not, they spiral. Their internal state is entirely dependent on someone else's words. They have handed their peace to another person. The Stoic builds internal validation. He knows what he values. He knows whether he is living according to those values. He does not need external confirmation because he has developed the capacity to evaluate himself honestly. This is not arrogance. This is self-knowledge.
It is the difference between a man who must be told he is good and a man who knows himself well enough to assess his own character accurately. Marcus Aurelius asked himself each night whether he had lived according to his principles. He did not ask whether others had noticed. He did not require recognition. His satisfaction came from knowing he had done what he believed was right. This is the foundation you must build, an internal compass so clear and so honest that it requires no external validation. Stop caring what others think of your worth. Develop your own relationship with yourself. Make it strong enough that praise does not inflate you and criticism does not destroy you. Your worth is not negotiable. It does not require confirmation. It simply is. 6. Comparing yourself to others. The sixth thing you must stop caring about is how your life measures against someone else's. Comparison is the theft of peace. It is the habit of measuring yourself against external standards that have nothing to do with your own path, your own values, or your own circumstances. And yet the modern world is designed to encourage constant comparison. You see others' achievements, their relationships, their possessions, and you measure your insides against their outsides. You feel lacking, insufficient, behind. This is a constructed suffering because you are comparing incomparable things. Epictetus taught that you should focus on your own improvement, not relative to others, but relative to who you were yesterday. The only meaningful comparison is between who you are now and who you are capable of becoming. Consider the person who sees a peer's promotion and feels their own career is a failure. They do not know what that peer sacrificed, what trade-offs they made, whether their success brought them happiness or simply more stress. They are comparing their entire complex reality to a single visible outcome. Or consider the person who scrolls through social media and feels their life is inadequate because others appear to be happier, more successful, more fulfilled. They are comparing their private struggles to others' public performances, and they are suffering because of a comparison that was never valid. The Stoic stops this entirely. He recognizes that his path is his own, that his definition of a life well lived may not match anyone else's, that external success, however impressive, does not determine internal worth. Marcus Aurelius asked himself each night whether he had lived according to his principles. He did not ask whether others had noticed. He did not require recognition. His satisfaction came from knowing he had done what he believed was right. This is the foundation you must build, an internal compass so clear and so honest that it requires no external validation. Stop caring what others think of your worth. Develop your own relationship with yourself. Make it strong enough that praise does not inflate you and criticism does not destroy you. Your worth is not negotiable. It does not require confirmation. It simply is.
7. Things outside your control. The seventh and final thing you must stop caring about is everything outside your control. This is the summation of all Stoic teaching, the principle that underlies every other lesson. You control your thoughts, your actions, your responses, your character, your effort. You do not control outcomes, other people, the weather, the economy, the past, the future, other people's feelings, circumstances. And yet, most people spend the majority of their energy worrying about what they cannot control while neglecting what they can. They worry about the future as if worrying could change it. They stress about outcomes as if stress improves results. They try to manage other people's emotions as if those emotions are theirs to command. All of this is wasted energy, misdirected power, suffering that is entirely optional. Epictetus divided all things into two categories, things that are up to us and things that are not up to us. And he was ruthlessly clear. Everything that is not up to us should be treated with indifference. Not because it does not exist, but because caring about it accomplishes nothing except disturbing your peace. You cannot control whether you get sick, but you can control how you respond to illness.
You cannot control whether others respect you, but you can control whether you act with integrity. You cannot control whether your efforts succeed, but you can control the quality of your effort. This is where your power lives, in the small circle of what is actually yours to command. The moment you stop caring about what is outside that circle, you discover something extraordinary, that peace has been available all along. That it was not hidden in favorable circumstances, it was hidden beneath your attachment to controlling what was never yours to control. Seneca wrote that the wise man expects nothing from fortune and everything from himself, that he does not place his happiness in external things because external things are unreliable, that his peace comes from within, from the knowledge that he is living according to his principles regardless of outcomes. This is the final lesson. Stop caring about what you cannot control. Release it completely, finally. Focus all your energy on the only domain where you have power, your mind, your actions, your character. This is freedom, not the freedom to make circumstances bend to your will, but the freedom to remain at peace regardless of circumstances. Closing. 7 things, 7 common attachments that keep most people in a state of perpetual suffering. Other people's opinions, the illusion of total control, past mistakes, universal approval, external validation, comparison to others, everything outside your control. The Stoics did not teach that these things do not exist. They taught that caring about them is optional, and that the suffering they create is a choice you are making, a choice you can unmake. When you stop caring about what you cannot control, you reclaim your energy, your peace, your power. You discover that you have been carrying a weight that was never yours to carry, and that releasing it does not make you weaker, it makes you free. This is the Stoic path, not a path of indifference to life, but a path of focused attention on what actually matters, on what you can actually influence, on the only domain where your power truly exists, your thoughts, your actions, your character. Everything else is noise, and you are no longer required to listen to it. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the universe is change and life is opinion, that what disturbs you is not the things themselves, but your judgments about them, and that changing your judgments is always within your power. This is the truth that sets you free, that suffering is optional, that peace is available, that you do not need circumstances to change before you can be at peace. You only need to stop caring about circumstances and start caring about yourself. Not in the selfish sense, but in the sense of self-mastery, of building a character so strong, so clear, so grounded in principle that nothing external can shake it. This is the work, and it begins the moment you decide that your peace is more valuable than your attachment to controlling what cannot be controlled. Stop caring about the wrong things. Start caring about the right ones, and discover that freedom has been waiting inside you all along.